Everybody, welcome to Astro Monday. I'm about to pull up your sensei, Christopher Witecki, and my name is Ra of Earth, and we are going to be running down the astrology of the times, and eventually we'll get into what actually is happening day by day this week. Let me just pull up available, and we're about ready to roll. Guys, if you haven't shared yet in the chat, here he is.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
Wow,
how's
things are
it going?
crazy. How's it going? Pretty well. It's been a little hectic.
What are
I
you looking
apologize.
like?
Oh, thanks. I just got off another shoot. I mean, where do I start? I just find that for me, like my ascension into, 5D is based on how I manage my life. And I find like a caveman techniques to try to pull off, spiritual leadership. So, part of my struggle at the moment, not struggle, but challenge is that I've got to live in the high vibration before. So, thus I'm late.
Yeah. So
That's really the truth.
I was asking people what they're feeling like this week,
What'd you come up
and
with?
there it seemed like words of challenge all around. There wasn't. It was like what were the exact words? Like hesitancy or like words like that.
Uh-huh.
So, and I kind of feel like a little bit of pressure as well. Um, so, not sure if that's what's going on this week. I do see a circling thing on your face right now. So, either your
Okay,
phone
it's
is
because
overheating.
we actually we're inside. We're not going to let that happen anymore. Um, but I had to put on the AirPods because the air conditioning in this house is like ferocious. What was the thing you said? You feel like what's happening? Your wheels are spinning? Is that what I thought I heard?
Oh, no, there was a circle going on your face. So, I was talking
Well,
about that.
okay, gotcha. Okay, so in your life, how are you feeling?
It seems like there's a lot to do and very little clarity on what it actually is. So I feel like I'm missing something, if that can give you like some sort of feeling.
It's the perfect lead in actually to what's about to happen. So we have the moon in Gemini right now, bringing feelings to all of our thoughts and ideas because we're about to have a full moon in Sagittarius tomorrow at 20 degrees Sagittarius. Now, the problem that you're expressing is the problem everyone's having too when it comes to thoughts. That thoughts, our mind, must come from a feeling. A feeling does not come from a thought. A thought comes from a feeling. A feeling does not come from a thought. Okay. That's because step two is I feel and step five is I think. So you cannot think about anything until you've already had an emotion that it filtered through. Therefore, many things are true. One, you will not see the right idea if you feel like shit. You can't feel bad and come up with a solution. You can't feel bad and come up with any because the mind will take that feeling and turn into the direction of that feelings before it even provides choices for you. Your choices are limited by how you feel. So if you don't feel good in the beginning, your mind won't come up with any good ideas. If you feel valuable in the beginning, your mind will come up with valuable ideas. If you feel so, how we direct our mind is not this idea of karate chopping every idea that floods into our meditation. That's not how you control the mind. You don't control the mind by programming them through television. You don't control the mind by giving it the power to a guru. You control the mind by setting up the feeling that the mind takes the football from and runs. And so as we go to step 20, we go to this realization of the master degrees of Gemini. All master Geminis feel before they think. They all feel before they think. That's why they're masters. They can feel right away which ideas are bullshit without doing any research. They can feel what ideas have promise without doing any research. They can separate billions of ideas from possible good ones and hits by the way the idea feels on the inside before they think about it. So we're about to create a major change in this full moon. Go ahead.
Are we controlling our feelings? Where are the feelings coming from?
The feelings are very dynamic in the sense that yes, the way you respond to your own feelings is your capacity to control them. So if you feel bad and you go drink, your response was to ignore them and to abandon yourself. If you feel bad and you take it out on someone else, Your response was to project your feelings onto someone else instead of nurturing yourself. So the way you respond to your feelings is the control. If you respond to your feelings and give them what they're asking for, and really what feelings are asking for are probably two things. One, actually three things. One, they're asking to know if you're there. So if you're not there paying attention, your feelings get worse and worse and worse because the baby in you, the 2-year-old, because basically this emotional disposition is set by age 2. By age 2, a child knows how they feel about life. And that means that the first 2 years of parenting are the most important of parenting. If the child doesn't feel good about life at 2, the child will have a hard time feeling about life ever because they have to go back to this 2-year-old inside of them and change their emotional disposition. Now, you can go back to the 2-year-old inside of you and change your emotional disposition by monitoring the most micro feelings you have and responding to all the terrible twos inside you. If you're throwing a terrible two tantrum because you didn't get what you want, then you have to respond to the terrible two in you and respond to a 2-year-old inside of you to convince that 2-year-old it's okay. It'll be all right. Daddy's here. So if you get your feelings to that in a given day, the feelings will automatically update on that issue. You'll become emotionally mature, and you realize the whole reason you were emotionally immature was because at 2, your parents were not responding to you and making you feel good. And so because they didn't help you feel good, you began to have a negative disposition on life. So the way we control it is we first have to be aware of our feelings. Now, here's the good news. Jupiter is going out of Gemini and into Cancer. All right. So that means that Jupiter is going to quit expanding your thoughts now about life, and it's going to begin to expand your feelings about life. And that change is happening. Let's see. I think it's actually happening before the end of this week. If I'm saying, yes, it happens this week. I don't have this week's notes. So we go into Jupiter and Cancer this week. That means that all your feelings are about to get bigger. Notice the riots in Los Angeles? That's
Mhm.
because they feel all their feelings are suddenly bigger. All feelings of the earth are going to get bigger. This is the conflict that defines our new age, because some of us are in the wrong part of our mind, and we're in the wrong part of our mind because we didn't consider our feelings before we thought something. So we think that they must be a terrorist, that we think they must be bad, and we're thinking that because we feel bad about them, and we feel bad about them because we feel bad about ourselves, and we feel bad about ourselves because our parents made us feel bad at age 2. So people are on this wavelength of heading for a mental direction that is all based on feeling bad. And then God turns up the volume of how you feel this week. So not
Okay.
only do you feel bad, now you feel terrible. The reason why it's magnifying the feelings is because they're so buried and you deny them so much. We have to turn up the volume for you to understand how this is actually a big problem. And there's no bigger volume than Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's hidden agenda is for you to understand and believe in yourself. So the expansion of feelings may turn into, you spray painting some wall and doing graffiti and doing something crazy on the street. But when you're sitting in jail, you're going to start to process your feelings. Well, there's going to be someone like me sitting right next to you who's going to give you a free lesson.
When you say we're going into, what do you mean by that?
We have officially entered this week. We enter into an 18-month to 2-year conflict in the world. This is the big, big conflict. This is it.
So,
This is what you've all been worried about.
but literally, what movements of the planets are you referring to?
Literally, the movements that tell us this calculation are a combination to the safe, not just one planet. You have
Okay.
Pluto and Aquarius that's saying you must innovate. You cannot live in low vibration as a person anymore. Pluto's the line, like, no. Pluto says
We
no.
have to innovate. We have to
You,
create.
if you don't raise your vibration and happiness inside of you, you'll begin to get sick and die. Or something bad will be attracted to you and you'll go down on a plane or something else like that. Basically, the matrix has no room for low vibration anymore. Matrix is like, we're going this way. This has always been the planet Earth. Sorry that you don't want to grow, but we don't have room for you anymore. We literally will not feed you at this dark level anymore. God will literally not feed you or support you at the dark level. You won't have help. You will be left behind. And what I hear is you'll be reincarnated onto a planet that still has these little frequencies. That's what I hear up in heaven. That the plan is if you refuse, well, it's free will. You don't have to. But we need you to please take your luggage and get off the planet. Basically, your emotional baggage, that is. And that sounds harsh, but that only happens. First of all, it was never supposed to be low vibration. So this whole time, we were not following what the universe wanted. So they've given us about 26,000 years to get it together. That's very fair on creation's part. So if you feel like God's against you, he gave you a notice 26,000 years ago this would happen. Every time you go to heaven, you're told this is what's going to happen. And every time you come down here, you forget. So what can we do? Right?
Yeah. And then, sorry to go on this tangent if
No
we're
stars.
other
No, it's
direct.
great. Yeah.
because I know that there's a lot of parents on here,
Uh-huh.
and I know that we do a lot of talking about parent, like reparenting and relearning ourselves from things that we experienced from our parents. But
Right.
when if we have somebody who's a parent, and we talked about like 0 to 2 years old, or even past that, what what do you find yourself telling parents that's important in regards to parenting their very very young children?
That's a great question. What I tell them is this. First of all, you are the solution to your parents' problem. So stop blaming your parents. You have the keys to fix that. First of all, you must fix that. Okay. And if your kids don't get it from you, they have to fix theirs and so on and so forth. So to spend any time blaming your parents is a waste of time, because what you're doing is you're staying stuck in your emotional problems. You're not growing out of them. If you're not growing out of your emotional problems, there's no way in hell you're going to lead your kids out of them either. So the first
Mhm.
and most powerful part of parenting is role modelship. I would be very open with your kids about how you feel, what you're doing about it, how you're going to go, mommy doesn't feel good, so mommy's going to walk to feel good. Mommy doesn't do this because mommy's going to do that to feel good. Mommy doesn't like the way daddy makes her feel, so mommy's going to go to the police station. Like, you basically, kidding. I always throw one of those thinkers in there. But basically, by having conversation openly with your kids about how
And
you
it shouldn't
feel,
be funny either. I don't know
no,
why.
no, it should be. No, no, it's funny because it's ridiculous and not appropriate for this moment. But but the point is, like, the first thing you do is you have to be aware of your feelings, and you have to know how you feel and know how you want to feel. Emotional maturity and control of the emotion is you must identify how you currently feel, and you must identify how you want to feel. If you don't have a destination, you won't change your feelings. If you don't have a definition of where you are now, you will not change your feelings,
Hmm.
because those are boundaries that are holding on to the emotional field. I am here and I want to go here. This holds on to it. You can't drag it to another place if you don't hold on to it, which means you have to be aware of how you feel, not what you think. What you think is irrelevant, because what you think is coming from those feelings. So you can't use the mind to heal your feelings unless it was the mind that caused them in the first place. That's rare. Very rarely does our mind cause the feelings. Most of the time, our mind is reacting to the feelings, right? So for parenting, you have to know how you feel today and how you want to feel later. Once you do that a few times, you'll start to see what's wrong with your children, why they're upset. You'll only see it through your own experience of you. You won't be able to see it unless you see you first. Intimacy is into me, I see. If I want to be close to another person, I have to be intimate with myself. It's by seeing intimately in me, into me, I see, that I can feel and understand my children or my partnerships or anyone. So to have high definition childhood, you must be high definition with how you feel. And you must have little tricks in the trade, about how you get yourself to feel better. Then the next stage is to have your kids talk about their feelings. It should be okay. It ought to be. It could be, let's put it this way, but try to replace could with should with could.
Yeah.
You could have nightly conversations at the table about how you're feeling. You could talk about your feelings before you ask for each other's opinions. You could prioritize how you feel as the number one intention of the family, to feel good. And the family feels good, then we can do these other things that we want to do. So it's up to you to prioritize feeling, which is the most intelligent part of you, by the way. If I ask how you feel about anything. I'm trying to think of something neutral, but right now my mind's full of conflict because I think of Mars. But it's like if you try to define how you feel about um, ice cream, okay, you will go into your feeling about ice cream. You're feeling about every flavor of ice cream. That feeling will also include how other people's feelings about ice cream made you feel. That feeling will also include the history of ice cream over time since it went to non-milk. Like every feeling you have about ice cream will come up at the exact same moment. That's what a feeling is. A feeling is a brilliant blend of millions of times that you have experienced that feeling. And every time it turned into a feeling and that feeling turned into a feeling, and how the person felt about you and how you felt about them, it's the most brilliant part of our consciousness. And we've been told that it's the dumbest. We've been
Oh,
told
wow.
that you're a silly girl. Put those tears, stop crying, stop expressing your feelings. Don't be a little girl or a wimpy
It
man
really
or
is
whatever.
packed with so much information. Like a thought is basically a sentence kind of like spoken to yourself, just like a bit. But a
Yeah,
feeling, man, yeah, it's literally like all of the times that anything having to do with this subject that is relevant to it, it's into one packet, a feeling. And it's
100%.
unpacked, and you could
One
talk about
moment.
it for, yeah,
Totally.
wow.
It's the high resolution bandwidth of humans. So it tells you how you felt now and how you felt in the past. So when I'm in a reading with a client, I don't use my mind at all. I use my feelings. They'll say something. Ooh, get me a thing. Okay, go into that thing. Oh, more opens. Oh, go in that. More opens. I feel into the reading. I feel into the truth. And this stuff just starts populating. And my mind doesn't get the words for it until I've swum through the feelings for a good 2 minutes at least. That's how you navigate the Akashic records, your relationships to God, spirits, relationships to angels, relationships to everything. The language of the universe is emotion, of our universe. Now, here's the thing. We are new. Humans are the first ones to have this feature from what we hear in the company of heaven. So don't be so damn hard on yourself. You're pioneering a new feature. You're pioneering something new. There hasn't been this high resolution. Aliens don't have it. They'll tell you that when they come next year. They don't have it. That's why they're scared of us a little bit, because we're like kind of poison, because we kind of freak out over everything like children and put out these huge waves of energy that they're just like, oh, seasick over. Literally, aliens get seasick from our tantrums.
That's what you're hearing. That we
Uh-huh. We make them sick. Like, as far as why they don't want to come down and hang out too long, and like why we look dangerous to them, and we have free will on top of it, and we have a connection to God to create things. We're the ones that are dangerous. We're the ones that make them sick. Our nuclear bombs make them sick. We
right.
have It's because we don't consider the power of our feelings and how they go out into infinite directions in space. We assume we're just a lonely third rock from the sun. That's not true. That's just our address, right? So, yeah. So it's interesting in that sense. So emotion is the key. Feelings are the key to the new age. Feelings are the key to everything, right? It's the feeling of everything. And there's so many reasons why. I can just talk all day on this, but ultimately, what we are is the expression of God. God was one, and He became two. That expression, two, is the reflection of yourself. The moon is a reflection of yourself in energetic form. So the reflection of yourself in energetic form is biologically felt in the body, from the body encoding and interpreting the waveforms into hormones and different chemicals in the body to simulate the feeling. The feeling is a reading of the vibration. You are feeling the vibration literally, and you're interpreting it through goosebumps in your body. Your body is the instrument that reads the feeling. This is what we're going to learn. This is very Jupiter in Cancer, isn't it?
Yeah. I just wanted to appreciate the advice that you gave to parents as well. So you
Mm.
kind of zoomed past that. But yeah, it was, I mean, that was relevant for any relationship as well as to, but yeah, it was really relevant for parents as well. So
Thank you very much.
back to going into Jupiter.
Jupiter in Cancer. I wish
Yeah.
I haven't memorized exactly what it is. It's coming up any second now. That's because I'm just in the moment playing the game. But Jupiter goes into Cancer. That means you're going to feel a huge, first of all, everyone's going to come off of a mental rush here in a couple of days. So everyone's all worked up. That's what led to the riot. It's because of ideas that you believe, and you believe they're telling lies. I mean, the whole war is happening in the mind. That's where the bad people want you to have that battle, is in the mind, because they know the mind is unwinnable. You cannot win in the mind. That's why the only way we win in a court case is by convincing 6 to 12 jurors that one person's thought was better than others. There's no facts, people. Nothing is based on the facts. It's one expert saying, hey, the science says this. There's another expert saying, hey, the science says that. Which expert do you believe if you're just a jurist that was out there in the middle? We blame it. We let 12 people decide. I think the forefathers knew that, because the consensus of that many, 6, 8, or 12, or whatever the state has, that consensus would likely be the truth. Likely. The truth that would benefit the person who is innocent or guilty. The point is that nothing in life is based on any ideas of fact. And every time science says they figured something out, next year they'll tell you they figured it out differently.
Yep.
So we are being manipulated by our thoughts and our ideas. And we've been manipulated thinking that all of our thoughts and ideas are the end all and be all of what truth is. There is no truth, because right now you and I are up in heaven in a dream that's networked together. So you're making your truth in your dream, I'm making my truth in my dream. And it doesn't matter when we come out of it in heaven, when we die and come out of it, we will then believe in what we created, not believe in what everyone else said. So we have to start recognizing the nature of reality and consciousness. I know it's a big leap, but you can start in a very small step, and that is your feelings. If you include your feelings, so this I've given this out a few times, but I'll give it out again. It's called the 5-2-1 method, okay? And this is part of what I call a step algorithm. And step algorithms are coming out in my book, where I'll talk about there are certain step algorithms that will lead to absolute the best conclusions there are in the world. One of the best algorithms is the 5-2-1 net 8 algorithm. The 5-2-1 net 8 algorithm says that if you take your thoughts and identify them, that's 5. So let's say you have any problem, like Should I spank my child tonight? Okay, there you go. Let's put the parenting in there. You ask first the five, your mind. What do you think? Do you think you should spank your children? Now, your mind is going to go off on a huge dissertation that makes no fucking sense and goes all over the map, citing details and facts and all sorts of things you've learned or heard or like school taught. Your mind's just coming up with everything it has, like it's doing a Google search in your mind of Google search, Google search of spank kids. It's like all the records that the mind has comes out of the mouth. You have to clear the RAM of your mind first if you want truth. Your mind cannot be included in the search for truth because your mind does not hold the truth. All it does is memorize facts and then compare them. That's all it does,
Oh, so
right?
that's how you do it first. I was wondering why you go backwards.
Because you clear the rhetoric. The rhetoric is the mind. Well, I heard in this, it was that, and I heard in this and that. But those are opposites. That's right. And that's where you can find that Gemini, the twins, always knows the opposite. It doesn't know which opposite is true. How does it know what? So you say to Gemini, hey, black, it'll go white. It'll always find the opposite. The brain always finds the opposite because it needs a comparison. And so it starts with opposites. That's where it starts. But then it develops all sorts of comparisons, like narcissist and empath, and all these other different opposites. But that's all the mind does is discover opposites. It can't tell you where you are in that. It can't measure where you are in that. So the mind as an instrument itself has to be neutralized to get to the truth. It has no business in the truth. It does not know the truth. It is here to communicate what the heart and feelings say are the truth. It's not here to come up with it on its own. Okay,
Oh,
so that's why we don't have mental disease. We have emotional disease. We don't have mental disease. That's a lie. The mind is sick because the emotions are sick and the heart's not loved. So the mind is miserable by the time the consciousness gets up to, I think. It's miserable. It's sick before it gets to the mind. But we're told it's in the mind so we can search forever. Right?
mhm.
So some bad wizard set this up. Now, the five is you clear all your thoughts. Here are all my thoughts about parenting and all my thoughts about this. It may take you 2 days to get all those out, by the way, but do what you have to do to be convinced that your mind has said everything it wants to say. Then after the mind says everything it wants to say, and ideally you've recorded the big topics on a piece of paper or something, then on those topics, ask yourself, how do you feel about topic one? How do you feel about topic two? Now, when you ask how you feel about it, you're going to be surprised. You're getting information the mind never thought of. Not once. The mind didn't think of that information once. It didn't consider your feelings once. Okay, mostly not even once. Okay, because our minds are brainwashed and programmed to ignore our feelings and call ourselves crazy and call ourselves girly or emotional or having problems. So our mind does not want to talk about those feelings because the feelings have been made to be the bad guy. So the feelings then come out and you record everything you feel about it. And you'll find that although the data points this way, you feel you should go that way. You'll see almost immediately your feelings tell you to go somewhere else than what your mind has concluded.
It really does work that way. Like the mind will convince you that it's a good idea, and then when you say, "Well, how do you feel about it?" It's just like not anything that I desire to do.
Correct. I don't feel good about it. And the mind's like, now that's because you don't understand. And that's because you don't understand this. That's because you're ignorant and you're born a sinner. So everything has like this mental expression, and everything you think and keep saying does not make you feel better. Try to convince your wife of something that she don't feel good about. It ain't gonna happen. Okay, because she don't feel good about it. And she may let you at the door and she's gonna cry while you're gone because she don't feel good about it. And for women are more connected to emotion. They're connected to the moon. They're intimately connected to the energy. It's very difficult for a woman to block the feelings, but she can if she's been abused enough and she's been told her mind's more important and all those other things. So a woman can ignore her feelings too in this modern society. In the old days, it was very difficult. That's why we made them obey the man.
Hmm.
Made them
Yep.
obey the man and serve the man because those crazy feelings will ruin everything. Right? So you have to ask yourself how you feel. When you ask yourself how you feel, you'll get the emotional history of this topic. You'll get the emotional future. You'll get all of every feel about everything. You can navigate through the feelings to everything, including how your father feels about it, how your mother feels about it. You can get to any data you want just through the feeling itself. Right? And so you get the real truth from the feeling. But then the real truth doesn't mean you have an answer of what to do. That comes
Yeah,
from, Mhm.
just to unpack what you're saying, what I sort of imagined was you have the thought, which is the statement, and then the feeling like basically gives you all the perspectives of it. It unpacks it into high definition is what you said earlier. Like
It
really
deconstructs it. It
clears
deconstructs
up.
it because remember, all the thoughts you originally had came from a feeling that the mind claimed to come up with it on its own.
Okay. Yeah, so it brings it back to the origin, the
You're
origin.
you're deconstructing the history of the thought, really.
Okay. That makes more
That's
sense.
really what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all the feelings that led to the thought, all the feelings that led to the words, all the feelings that led to the fight, you're getting into those now, the source of the thoughts and the arguments and the confusion. So once you feel what you feel about it, then you do the one, the 5-2-1. The one is, what does your heart want and wish for? You ask yourself, okay, here's all the feelings, here's all the thoughts. Hey, heart, what do you wish could happen? Now, when the heart wishes, the heart comes from God. A wish cannot come from the mind or from feelings. A wish must come from spirit.
Okay. Can I give you an example to
Yep.
sort of work through? Because I'm hearing this a lot. So just the topic of like quitting your job because it doesn't satisfy you. So I feel like people are at the point where
Yes.
they know all their reasons to quit and not to quit. They kind of know that they really feel like doing something they're more passionate about, but then there's like this wall of
Mhm.
like safety and security. So how do we really know that the heart, like if the heart is aligned to going in a direction, but there's no security, what do we, so the, because that's how the thoughts will override the heart, is
Right.
because there's the I'm scared to do it, I'm fearful of it, so I'm going to stay secure. So what do we, like, I think that a lot of people know what their heart is desiring, but they're not stepping into it because there's not security. So what do we do, because that's
Well,
valid.
your mind's basically saying, you know, goddamn good well, I'm going to scare the hell out of you if you do that and try to talk you out of it for the rest of your life. You know, your mind is going to fight it for the rest of your life. You know, your mind can't wrap around it. You know, people are going to judge you because you're going off in a crazy, illogical, stupid mental direction, emotional direction. You're letting your feelings choose your life, you idiot. So it's like you basically are opting out of the matrix when you listen to your heart. It's a huge revolution into your sovereignty. We talk about sovereignty now. It's a big word that's popping up. Mary Magdalene and Krista Marie Miller have a series on our series story called Sovereign Revolution. She's already laying the groundworks. The groundwork is nobody on earth has the right to interfere with my sovereign connection to spirit and God. Nobody. No church, no religion, anyone. A sovereign person is one working independently with you and God. Guess what your connector is to God? Your heart. The reason why you feel good and you love stuff is because you feel God pouring through you. That's God. Good energy, direction, God. That's what God is. God creation. Creation is God. Love is God. God feels like love on earth. God feels like love in heaven too. I don't know what God feels like in other places. But the point is that the feeling of love is actually the spirit of God talking through you. That's
Yes.
the dirty secret they didn't want you to know. So if we can get you to judge yourself, call yourself a sinner, realize that you're born foul, completely fucked up, then you won't actually ever love yourself and you'll disconnect from the actual God.
So
It's a
it's really
real,
your mind limiting what, like if you love something, then that's actually God's will in a way pulling you in that direction.
yes. Not only is it in your best interest, it's in the entire collective because you are the collective. They're just different sides of you that want to do it differently. So if you make a choice and goes, God, I'm sorry. I know you're going to lose your job. I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. I know all these things are going to happen that you all think is bad. But honestly, I've asked my heart everything, and my heart wants it so bad. I have to believe that by doing right for my heart, I will do right for yours. It's a hard leap because it goes against everything your mind tells you, everything you've been programmed, everything you think. But you want to try it. What I recommend is people try just a very small thing. So I recommend that you do the 5-2-1 method. By the way, 5 plus 2 makes 7, 1 makes 8. The best way to do a decision is the algorithm of 5-2-1. If you want to have a decision, which adds to an 8, what does 5-2-1 come to? Your ability to decide. That's what it comes to. And a decision is like a homicide, right? When you decide, it's like a homicide. You kill off all the other possibilities that your feelings and your mind came up with. And you say,
Yeah.
this is it. I'm killing off all these. I'm killing off all these thoughts. I'm killing off all these feelings. You're all dead to me because I decide I'm going with my heart.
It
And so,
literally, decide etymologically literally means to cut off.
yes, yes. You cut off all the rhetoric in the mind. You cut off all the feelings. Feelings are not necessarily being cut off, but you're basically saying, come on, guys, I'm giving you something to make us happy. Come on, cheer up. Let's go. Emotions need a little bit of encouragement. Like, come on, let's go. We're doing the right things. It's going to make us happy. Oh, I know. I know. I know how you feel. Like feelings need to be like, they are like a whooshy and energetic, sea that sometimes get rough and sometimes get calm, and that depends on how much you upset your seed and how much you allow things to upset you. There's a real complexity to being emotionally savvy. It takes a lot of experience to get emotionally savvy. But a lot of people who are emotionally savvy forgot to be savvy to themselves, so they're still screwed. Like they can make everyone in the room feel good, but they don't know how to feel good themselves because they forgot. They've been focusing on the room and
Hmm.
acting like making the dream people in their dream is more important than changing the dream. Okay, you know that's where we got talked into. It's an interesting path. I mean, in our Unite the Light channel panel, we had Mary Magdalene talking with the Palladians and Archangel Metatron. Mary Magdalene, I don't know if I told you this last week, but she told us what Jesus's real mission was, and his real mission was to help people find heaven when they die, because they were getting lost. Because unlike the Egyptians, who had a whole philosophy of what makes you good brings you to heaven, the Jews did not have any kind of story that got them into heaven. So what was happening is they were dying and they were believing that they were in hell, and they were stuck there until they figured out they were creating hell in heaven, because heaven is instant creation. So if
Hmm.
you judge yourself and hate yourself and you die, you create hell. If you believe you go to hell, then you do. If you're worried about going to hell, then you do also. Because and I asked in God in a conversation with God, the human that was talking to God asked God, well, what happens? Because this came up in that book too. What happens when they just wander around, thinking they're in hell? And he's like, they eventually figure it out, come to heaven. They eventually figure it out. So the Christ consciousness first goal was to make you recognize you are Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is the creation of God, God's creation energy on earth. It has nothing to do with any religion at all. It's a metaphysical term that deals with the highest form of creation possible. And that you are born as the highest creation possible. And therefore, when you die, create heaven, will you? So we can see you there again.
So, according to these guides and maybe even your own knowledge,
Hmm.
then what is hell?
Hell is a myth came up with by the Roman emperors, Constantine and a few others, that was a fairy tale. They fed your imagination that you would replay on your own. The idea was if they corrupt you and your beliefs, then you'll just take care of the problem on your own. Your creativity will just run with that ball and get out of our yard. So the idea was plant humans poison, and they will take that poison to the highest heights with their creative power. We're actually toxifying their ability to create reality. That's what evil is, working literally against life.
Hmm.
Beginning with a lie when you're out of the womb and your mom tells you, you're going to go to hell if you keep doing that. So we allowed ourselves to get brainwashed.
Okay.
We weren't this much in the brain in Atlantis. If you met Atlantis people, you might think they were dumb because they didn't have tricky words. They didn't have clever things to do stuff. What happened was a certain alienation. A couple of them came to Earth, started using those techniques on certain people in power. And those people were easily manipulated under the alien authority and started buying all this bullshit. And the people who were in power who started playing these mind games realized it was very easy to play the mind games on the Atlanteans because they were not at all educated on these types of things. The mind was just there to make the choice and communicate. Everything else was feeling, emotion, vibration, sex. There's all these other sensations. It wasn't what you thought. But then it seems like what happened was evil changes its seat of power every now and then. And so evil had been the seat of power in the Roman Catholic Church for hundreds of years. And for whatever reason, the seat of power then moved to science. And science gave us this idea that reality is real and it can be measured. And what they were really doing was creating the reality that they then measured. Okay. And so science exists, yes, because we all commonly agree on these things. And I think some scientists know that they actually create the belief that the mass producer says, the mass conscious says, oh, okay, it's true. And so, yes, every time you split an atom, you find a quark in a thing.
Yeah.
Because we all believe that's what it is. But from what I understand, you can split an atom and find a chicken if you believe it.
I mean, yeah,
That's
you make a more powerful microscope, you see more things that you were expecting to see.
And the premise is division, separation. Separate the cells from the body, separate the veins. That is what human gravity is all about. Gary's saying it's not separate. It's
Yeah.
all working as one. The fact that we cut it apart and dissect it and look at it when it's dead, we study it when it's dead. Come on. Like that tells you right now what you're going to get in a world of creation. You're going to get a lot of things that lead to more death because you're
Right.
choosing to see the death
Yeah.
and the separation. If you choose to see the death and separation, you'll begin to separate away from God and feel like you're dying because reality is going to be a living picture. This is like a little microcosm with goosebumps and nude people of what happens in heaven. In heaven, as soon as you imagine, your lifetime on Earth as Hitler or as whatever person you were, the person around you, they see Hitler. So you face changes all the time in heaven. People are seeing different images of you, and it's based on the way you're thinking of yourself in that moment. I've read some books on heaven. It's fascinating. I've also talked to some people who do hypnosis and who have affirmed all these things. By the way, I don't just pull shit out of my ass. I get a consensus from people who are experts. And you can just feel when it's right. Like everything, I know when I feel it's right. I know when I feel it's wrong. Sometimes we have to go down a wrong path, and sometimes our heart leads us to a pain. And in those cases, they're very rare, but the heart will say yes to something because it wanted something even deeper than what you were aiming for. Your heart may want true love. And so your heart may choose this man or that woman. And then later your heart's like, this was the wrong choice. What the heart wanted to learn was what was the right choice. So sometimes the heart will choose the wrong choice to understand the right one because that's what separation of polarity is all about. The reason why we have a right and wrong is because we won't know right unless we know wrong.
Right.
And so we came in a world where we experience both. And so if you're in heaven, you will experience the right, you then will experience wrong. If you're a good man and do all good things in one life, you'll be an asshole in another life where you choose everything wrong. You can't get out of that. You have to learn the whole spectrum to know who you are and who you really are as a soul, and watch in a weird, cool environment and experience with feelings what that's like to be that soul.
Okay, so amazing conversation. I just want to
Thank you.
get us towards the finish line.
Sure,
Do
we'll
we
use the
have
summary. Yeah.
Yeah, do we have anything big more to cover, or are we good to go to days of the week?
No, I think that's enough theory. That's enough theory because you can't, your mind can only handle so much.
Right.
And that's the last thing I'll say. As proof of this, that your mind really knows nothing, it'll take you 5 or 7 days for you to feel through everything I said and feel if I'm a bullshit or not. It'll take you several days for your heart to really agree to one of these. And that tells you where the intelligence is. You don't believe a thought yourself unless your feelings and heart agree. So why are you believing what you're hearing on TV? Do your feelings and heart agree with that news story? Does your feelings and heart agree with what the president said? Do your feelings and heart agree with these things? Then they're not you. As soon as you realize they're not you and they're a reflection of you, they won't matter anymore. The only reason you think that they're a problem is because your mind is telling you it's a problem and your feelings and heart are saying, I don't give a fuck about that guy. If your heart doesn't care and your feelings don't care, it's not relevant. It's not going to affect your life. It's not going to affect your life. So if you don't have the backup, a thought can only be a qualified thought if your feelings and heart agree. If your feelings and heart don't agree with the thought, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. In your world, it's bullshit. It won't fly. Why? Because if the heart and feelings do not agree, you're never going to manifest this as true. You're never. And a lot of times people are like, I hate this person. No, 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 no. He did this and she did that. Da, da, da. Well, yeah, but does your heart want to kill him? Do you feel like it'd be the loving thing? Your heart would be happy? Would you be happy if you killed him? Would you be happy? What would make you happy? Most times they say if you just go away. Oh, that's your job to go away from them. That's your job. You're the one standing in front of them.
Yeah.
You're the one watching him on TV. You're the one watching this getting upset. I can't make you. You have to decide to walk away. I can't make you in the world of free will. So most of the time, our mind is telling us this false thing that we somehow have control over these situations. You don't. The only person that has control over Congress is the congressperson. The only person that has control over these people are them. There's nothing you can do. Democracy, in some ways, was a bit of a model for collective unity consciousness, but it's a very imperfect model. So it's true. Unless people are really in their hearts, they're not qualified to vote. You're not in your hearts, you're really not qualified because you're not voting for you. You're voting for what you've been told or the lies you've been told or the lack of education. You're voting for everything but what your heart wants. So it's dangerous. So this week, starting with, let's see here. Well, we're coming on this week. Today we're at step 19, which is a very powerful aggro step because 19 is where 19 is really 19 is a degree between staying like everyone else or being someone special. Okay, so the trick is the 19. So the 1 is your heart, and the 9 is your ego. So 19 is when your heart and ego are put up on stage at the same time, and that's what the steps do. They put these two on stage, and then these two on stage, and these two parts of yourself plus the third is always put on stage every day. That's what the step system is. So you put your heart and your ego together. If your heart's upset, what's going to happen to your ego? It's going to get pissed off because the ego's here to defend the heart. It's here to champion the heart. It's here to be the light of the heart. So today's step 19, the day before the full moon. And so today, you have two types of people out there. First of all, everyone lives in the net step. The net step of 19 is 10. So the next step is where things will go. Okay. Where things will go from today is manifesting something. All right. So everyone is actually at the level of manifestation. Today, everyone is actually processing, where's my money? Where's my opportunity? Everyone wants to know where their money is, where they're manifesting. So people today are stuck in the 10. That's the first problem, is that people are focusing on where it's going, not where it is. Because we're a society of the future, we're not a society of the present. So everyone focuses on the net 10. Well, that's not where your power is. Your power is in the 19, okay? The 19 is either your ego is going to blame the world for your heart being unhappy, or your ego is going to turn around to the one and help the one. The one is you. So if your ego helps you, your heart will be happy because finally someone has come to its rescue. If your ego blames politics and racism and all these other things for why you're unhappy, well, obviously that's not what's making you unhappy, right? That's not, if it's not in your home, if it's not, prosecuting someone in your life, it's actually not literally what's making you unhappy. What's making you unhappy is your ego cares more about that bullshit than your heart. Your ego's wired. And they say, oh, you're egotistical. Egotistical is not self-loving. Egotistical is thinking the world will somehow make you loved. So 19 is a critical step because 20 is mastery. 20 is the beginning of mastery. You don't start mastering the world until you start with your feelings, and then, because your feelings are the conglomerate of all of you in all time, space, and history, and. So when you're in your feelings, you're in all of you in all time and history. When you're in your mind, you're in now, or that, or the future, these little pinpoints like fireflies. So the master degrees are all based on how you feel and, all right? So until you remember, it's I love myself and I feel the love. That's step one, I love. Step two, I feel. If the ego loves yourself, you'll step two, feel the love. You'll move to step 20. If you don't love yourself, you will not move to step 20. You'll stay stuck and spinning in 19. Most people are stuck in 19 at most. I'm an 18, but 19 always screws me over for a long time. To this life, I'm finally getting it. So what happens in the next 2 days is we're in Gemini. That means the mind is the primary state of awareness. That means every time we wake up in the day, we wake up and first are aware of our thoughts, and then we're aware of the step number. Our thoughts, and then the step number. So you're in your mind this whole month first, and then each step number you're being brought to attention. So the mind has its preconceived notions at the 5, like the 5-tone method. And so right now your mind is telling you a whole bunch of stuff before you even feel the 19, right? So your mind is full of shit, all sorts of stuff, this way, or he said, she said. And so this next, 24 hours is incredibly crucial because this next 24 hours between now and the full moon, which will apex at, drum roll please. When is the full moon? Oh, actually, I have next week, so I don't have this week's. Silly me. So the moon will apex literally in this next 24 hours. It happens on Tuesday. I'm actually shooting next week's show by accident. I forgot. So what happens is that between now and then, you're going to feel a certain way about the future. That's 20. You feel a certain way, right, about the future. You feel a certain way about the unknown, 0. So the full moon is how you feel about the unknown, right? That's what the full moon is about. The full moon is in Sagittarius, and so what you feel about the unknown will write your story and your legacy in Sagittarius is your own your beliefs about where your story is going, where your narrative is going. The first step of where you're going in the future is how you feel about the unknown, 0. So how do you feel about the unknown? That will determine what's going to happen next, because this is literally where people will move into a new storyline in the next 3 days. Right? This is the step 20 Sag is where he drops everything and joins the army because he feels about the unknown, very scared. And so he thinks in his mind he should go join the army because that will help him feel he has a known in the unknown. At least he knows the army will pay out and the army will give him a retirement and bad health care. He knows that. Facts tell him that. So the point is that this is where people make the most critical mistake. This is where people drink the Kool-Aid and end up dying. This is where people have the critical error and they review in heaven for their entire time in heaven. This step, 19 Gemini to 20 Gemini. Right now, that's where we're stuck. We were probably stuck in different steps in different timelines.
Was it just your birthday?
It was 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
All right.
May 9th. May 9th is my birthday. Thanks for remembering in your mind.
What was the something important happening on 6/6? Was that?
Well, okay.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
I
I
don't
took
have it
us
with me
off
here.
that
Asking
track.
me. I just didn't have the notes with me. I'll come more prepared with the whole month, but I was scattering to get on after a show. Sorry.
All right. So that's happening today.
So,
somehow somehow that's really relevant to me, as it always is.
of
Um,
course, you're a Libra.
but
You balance me,
yes,
brother.
so literally, like you're saying, you're saying that there's
Ooh.
uncertainty about the
It's
future
all,
or the
yes,
decision, who I'm becoming, and
the story you will live.
yeah.
And the belief you will live to, see, a belief is something we intend to bring to reality. A belief is not based on anything with fact. A belief is a premise you want to see to the end of. That's why the Sagittarius arrow. I have this premise of where it's going to land, and I want to land there. That's what a belief is. You want a belief to land right where you create. You want to create where the belief lands. Sagittarius is all the beliefs of all the things and all the acceptance of beliefs and the likelihood of where it will land where you think it will land. So the Sagittarius is, will it land where I pointed it, where I pointed the arrow? And the answer is only if you are coming from a belief of what your heart, step one, feels, step two, you believe. Your heart feels you believe it, you do believe it. But your mind says this, your mind says that. Shut the fuck up. You're step five. We're at step three right now. Mind, you're out of order. Shut up. You're not even allowed to commit. You're not even allowed to talk until it's your turn.
So it's not about picking something that you think is a good belief. It's about like actually finding what your heart believes and
What your
running with.
heart, what your heart feels.
Okay.
The heart feels is very different. There's no thinking. It's like, and they're like, so it's like someone be like, I'm going to America now. Are you fucking crazy? They're having meltdowns. My heart feels I'm supposed to be there. Yeah, but that's crazy. And they're melting down. I got the president, the orange man, this king. It's like, yeah, but my heart feels I'm supposed to be there. My heart feels I'm supposed to be there. That's what my heart feels. My heart wants to be there. My heart feels good about it. My heart feels like everything will be fine. My heart feels like I'll be the lucky one. You're a stupid person for thinking that. I didn't think it. My heart felt it. See, that's the thing. And so what your heart feels is your truth, is who you are. What you love is who you are. If you love America, you're an American. If you don't love America, you're not American because you don't love it. We're not supposed to be anywhere we don't love because that's not who we are. Who you are is what you love. So this is like the huge, huge master's quiz. This is the final test to see where people end up in the next 18 months. Okay. Because if you make your choice and think what you only think, and what you think is what you've been told to think and what you other people think, and you use this logical decision, you've used all this critical, you've dissected the thoughts down to pronouns and down to all these different small pieces of a word. You're not in the flow. You're not in your truth. You basically created a game like Scrabble that may or may not spell out the life you want. That's it. May or may not. Depends on other things. But it's not dependent on what you were thinking, you know, because the thinking is just a conscious fart. It does not have any power unless your heart feelings actually agree with that thought. The thought's supposed to come from the feelings, not thought. Think about it after. So today, here's the formula. This is the formula. Do what your heart wants today. Do what your heart wants today. Do whatever your heart wants. Drop everything. I don't care if you lose a job. I don't care what happens. Do what your heart wants today. Show your heart that you will follow the source of your God connection. You will follow who you are. You will not follow what people tell you to be. You'll follow who you are because what you love is who you are. If you put that action into motion, you'll set the foundation for a happy life. If you do not act on your heart, you'll have an unstable foundation to a happy life. That's the net 20. The net 20 is an emotional foundation to the future. So you have to have an emotional foundation. If your foundation emotionally is, I get what I want because I give it to me, that means that your whole life will be what you want. If your emotional foundation is, the world sucks, everything sucks, I'm victim of this, I'm victim of that, I have no control, then your emotional foundation of the final story is, you have no emotional control. And so you made a decision in that case to create a new reality or a new timeline based on this core feeling. 20 is the core feeling that the whole timeline is based on. And that's also the timeline that affects the world. Because when you feel a timeline, your feelings bounce into my feelings. So I feel your timeline, you feel mine. And so once you're in the 20s, you're now broadcasting your reality to everyone else. That is where common reality is created from 20 to 29. The
Okay.
common emotional the common emotional feeling. So if all of us just decide to feel differently and the majority of the population feels differently, everything falls apart that you currently see and everyone moves towards bliss. That's actually how it's designed.
Okay.
It's that much. That's how much is in our
It's
hands.
literally like right now, today.
Yes. And I'm sorry, but I've been telling you for 19 years. So if you didn't get the fucking memo, I'm sorry. You're like, I'm out of time. I'm like, I've been on YouTube for free for 19 years. I've done my mission. I'm happy with myself. I feel good about the future.
All right. So we do that today. We listen to our heart. We act
No,
on our heart.
you act on what your heart wants.
Okay.
So that whole 5-2-1, do it, and then pick the one your heart wants most and wishes for most, and show your heart you're serious by doing something. By the way, doing something is not a vision board. Doing something is not getting a mani and a pedi in preparation. Doing something is not going shopping. Doing something is on the inside, not on the outside. If you don't do something for your inside, you have failed because you believe the illusion is more important and more real than who the creator is, you. So people, you know what? I've had lifetimes where I did this all wrong. Probably every lifetime up until now, to be honest. So don't feel bad. I've done it. I've done it. Hell is really here. It's the hell you create. There's no hell. It's hell. It's here. It's what you create with your creativity. You create yourself a living hell. And you do it because you were just not looking at the possibility that you were the creator. And so you kept denying that you're the creator and denying you're the creator and blaming others and blaming others. And so you just go down a dark hole of hell where you're farther and farther away from your power because you're farther and farther away from your heart, the source of you that has all the power. So respond to your heart and feel what you want the future. Feel. So for the whole full moon, just feel what you want the future to feel. Okay? That's the formula. So I feel and protect. I protect the feeling of having no care in the world as I sit by the pool and not worried about money and not worried about anything. I'm just feeling good and don't give a fuck about all that stuff. That's how I feel. Now try not to use the words don't or not, which I just did, because don't nots create knots in your consciousness, K-N-O-T, K-N-O-T. So don't never say I protect this from not happening. That is a spell, that's a dark spell, because you're saying go forward with going backwards. You can't say go forward with going backwards. You can't say go forward with not doing this. That is how really the devil works, is in opposite paradigms. And so do not use the word, I can say it now because I'm not saying it's my intention for the future. So here in the now, where we're just discussing it with words, I can use the word don't. I will not do this. I will not do that. But in my heart, when I decide and affirm what I will do, I don't include any nots.
Because, yeah, if you say you're knotting something, then that something has to exist in order for you to steer around it. So
Basically, what you're doing is you're saying I'm going to go forward and not go forward. Well, you go nowhere because you're saying you're going forward by not going forward. You can't go forward by not going forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. There's no target. Okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's
Precisely.
today, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the full moon. So tomorrow, the emotional consequences happen. What the full moon does is the full moon comes up in Sagittarius and it destroys the emotional attachment that was. So full moon is destructive. It destroys the emotional feeling that was. So if you feel that happiness was the past, all right, and so whatever was good is destroyed in your story. You're building an emotional foundation of what you feel and protect, what you feel and protect. I feel the future as I'm sitting around the pool. I protect that. I will feel and be protected around the pool, having no responsibilities. That is how I want to feel, is being around the pool on vacation with no responsibilities. No is an okay word, but still it's still a little bit like a part of a not. So basically, I'm protecting the feeling of me being retired and feeling great every day. I'm protecting the feeling of harmony in my marriage. I'm protecting the feeling, these feelings I want to protect. By protecting and say, God, draw a line around this. Don't let any of this shit get involved with this. Because until you use the power to separate it for good things, I'm going to separate from the feelings I will not have. I'm going to only focus on the feelings I desire. I'm not going to put any energy into feelings I don't desire. That is the line that creates reality. That's what you separate from their timeline. That's where you begin a journey on your path and don't have to be with the others. So you must separate your feelings from others' feelings in order to manifest the reality you want. That's what step 20 is. That's why there's a full moon at 20. Oh God, this is the line. And the thing is, the full moon in Sag conjuncts the galactic center. What that means is Earth's feelings are directly reported to the center of the universe. What does that mean? Your file in heaven is immediately updated and your change of path is recorded and in process.
This is crazy. Yeah. So a decision is made, and then you're going into another phase.
Heaven's just like, she feels like she want to die. Okay. Heaven's just going to go, how do they feel? Metatron said at our conference, Unite the Light, he said, first of all, you are children, you are angels, you are descendants of the angels, you are angels on earth. That's who you are. Does that change anything about your thinking of who you are, by the way? Does that make you a sinner when you're born, if you're an angel, right? And the angel's job is to carry out what they feel coming from us. You feel this, they will carry it out. So they actually have the levers to let reality follow somehow, working with Mother Earth, who's a huge soul that's lending her entire energy of her entire soul to your learning this experience. That'd be like for a billion years, Ra here decides he's going to just not do anything like play poker or go anywhere. He's going to actually host a world for other people to learn. That's how amazing she is as a person, as a soul. Like, so it's like she's letting you all of her energy so you can have this experiment. The universe is giving you an experiment that will be harmless. When you go to heaven, you realize you've been in a video game and none of it matters and none of it counts. And you don't get graded or judged for anything you did. You just have to learn the opposite side of it. So if you're bad, you have to learn good. If you're good, you have to learn bad. So that's the only consequence is you have to learn the other side. Doesn't matter if you started with good, you still learn bad. So at the end of the day, why are we worried about these things? So once you feel it and we own it, then step 21, which is Wednesday, is when the new story begins. It's the first day of your new life on Wednesday. Yeah,
This
from
is
what I can tell.
exciting. Yeah.
I think so. I feel so. I've been replacing think with feel, by the way. I'll say I feel so, I feel yes, I feel not. I don't say I think anymore. I'm whittling it out. Yeah, because what I think is irrelevant.
All right.
All right. So 21, new story Wednesday. Thursday, miracle and also tragedy, same day. Thursday, miracle, tragedy day.
All
Part of
right.
the population will feel a miracle. Part of the population will witness a tragedy.
Oh, so it's not that we're all going to experience both.
No, not if you don't feel so. If you don't feel you're going to, you're not going to because you feel so. Because the emotions going out officially to the galactic centers not going to happen to me. I don't feel it's going to happen. Then it's not. The galactic center's like, got it, got your vote, thank you. That's it. And yes, both can have it their way. That's the whole point of reality. Everyone gets it the way they feel. Everyone. It's so complex and brilliant that it can rearrange people. So there's only people who will agree with the same feelings, and then therefore they all go down. Therefore, everyone on that plane felt they would go down. They felt their life was going to end tragically. They felt something bad was going to happen to them, and they continued feeling it, and their heart never stopped it. And so it happened because they attracted through emotional energy, right? So yeah, I don't feel I'm going to have any problems. I mean, one of the big issues I had coming into this year was I suddenly had no feelings that anything would ever go wrong. And then my mind's like, are you fucking crazy? My mind was like yelling at me. I was in a fight with my mind because I felt like it was going to be fine. I felt like, now, I'll be honest with you, I always felt such a kid. And somehow I would get away with this when other people couldn't. Not trying to get away with crime, just get away with, things that people say you shouldn't do. It's like smoke a cigarette if you're a sensei. I felt like I could try for a while and I won't get cancer. I feel I won't get cancer. I feel I won't. So I let myself have the experience. My heart wanted to know what it was like. My heart wanted to know that experience. So I allowed it. So many things didn't said, no, don't do it. Now, I'm not saying go do it. Don't do it if you don't feel you should and can, and could. If you don't feel you could, then don't, because your story is saying, no, we don't feel I can make that happen with my present awareness. But I've always known that if I felt it would be okay, it would be okay. And it's always been okay when I felt it would be okay, which means I call myself simply by asking my feelings. Do I feel this will happen? And as soon as I feel it won't happen, I believe it. And I stop thinking about it because I feel it's going to be okay. And the feeling is solid. By the time it gets to the mind will surrender to the feelings by the architecture of incarnation, which is what the step system is. It's how things incarnate into life. So 21, 22, tragedy, 23, new vision, new plan, new mindset about the future, new mindset in the sun. When Jupiter is now in Cancer, though, so Jupiter's already working on feelings, but now the mind is set. And here's what's dangerous about Gemini season. This is where I'll end. Most of the time, when Jupiter is in a sign, the sun will cross Jupiter at some point. Okay, the sun is the heart, so the sun will come up to Jupiter and check it on whether or not it's the heart's intentions. Most of the time, this time with Jupiter in Gemini, this time the sun never conjuncts Jupiter. That means that nothing comes up to correct the mind's false ideas. Nothing. There's no savior. There's no one, no one's going to say, did you know? You won't be told. Your mind is left to go off as far as it wants in these thoughts. So this is the setup for, personal destruction, because your heart is not going to be forced to talk to your mind. You have to know to do it. It has to be in the mind already. So this is where a lot of people make very dangerous decisions solely in their mind without consulting their feelings or consulting their heart. And so this is where people really sign up for their end of this life. Like they pretty much sign up for their end, because there's no way you're going to get there to the promise of heaven in your mind. There's
Hmm.
no way. So it's a real interesting. I'm fascinated by how I knew this would happen as a child. I knew my mission here very young, but I didn't understand how God would do it. And I'm so glad I know astrology, because I'm like, oh, this is how it's done. It's through the magic of astrology and the planets. The planets simply turn our head at a certain moment. If we don't know to turn back, that gets us in trouble. So astrology is just turning your head. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you should look at all of it, but you should also go back to who you are, which is what you love.
All right, so there's going to be some challenge, is what you're saying? Like there's going to be some other thing that comes in that your thoughts are going to want to pull you away from your heart, is possibly you're
Yes, and that's why Jupiter goes into Cancer, so you can expand your resolution of your feelings.
okay. So you
Because if you look at it just the thought value, it's just like a murder case in court. Your mind can add it up to where he's guilty. Your mind can add up to he's innocent. Depends on those jurors deciding what they think and feel. It's not about the law. It's not about the fact. It's about the way it's presented in the mind, whether or not the feelings agree with the mind, instead the mind set up to agree with the feelings from the first place. So the truth of the matter is yes, people will choose guilty. People will choose innocent. People will choose, make a choice. Their mind will add it up. If the mind adds it up with only the facts and things presented and allowable to be presented in the case, then you've controlled the outcome already by what you allowed. You've already controlled the outcome. Honestly, I don't want to bring down America courts, but the judge has already determined the outcome by the evidence he or she has allowed in the case. It's already determined, and they know it. Now, it turned into that. It wasn't the intention of the forefathers.
Mhm. Right.
It's just they didn't think through all. You know what? Good people who do good things don't think about how to take advantage of them. But I don't have any creative thought. I'm like, who would have thought? I mean, you're actually putting cocaine up your butt and getting on the plane? Like, what the fuck? That never, my mind never comes up with stuff like that. So, the good people get often easily exposed to a lot of, mind games and tricks, and they fall for them because they let their mind make the choice. They didn't pay attention to the feeling that you had a bad feeling about this guy. You had a bad feeling? Walk the other way.
Can we get a one sentence per day rundown? That
Yes.
was beautiful how the long form, how that unravels itself.
They won't shut up for him. No, I'm kidding. Um, so today's step 19. Well, today actually started with 18 and now it's 19. So I'm a little off of my numbers, actually. We woke up today to 18. So we woke up today to go after what your heart wants. Okay. So it's 18 is committed to the heart. So you're either committed to the heart or you're not committed to the heart. And that's what we're talking about today, really is step 18, talking about being committed to the heart. It turned to 19 like around 11 a.m. or so, Pacific time. So no, 11 Eastern. So right around 11 a.m. it went to 19. Now the days you're not judged, but you are recorded in the Akashic by the step number you wake up to. So tonight you either committed to your heart or you didn't. That's all you have to do today is commit to your heart or not. Okay. Now tomorrow at 19, or it's already in 19, but when you wake up tomorrow and your rules are based on 19, then you must now act on what that heart wants now that you've committed, okay? And not be distracted by conflict or other things in the outer world. You must act on what that heart wants. If you act on what the heart wants, you'll create an emotional field of happiness and joy.
Great.
And so at 20, you want to protect that happiness and joy. So if if your our ego turns on the heart and blames the world and ignores the heart, you'll create an emotional field of things feel bad. That emotional field will then be brought up to its full apex. The moon will get full, which means all emotion wide open, all emotion at high. So God turns up the valve of emotion all the way to the top on a full moon. That emotion then blasts away anything that's not congruent with the emotion. That emotion turns into a weapon that destroys what is not it. A full moon is the destruction of the emotions that you chose not to have. So it's like killing off those little feelings so you have room to build what you want to build. A very positive thing if you're on the part of your heart, a very negative, destructive thing if you're not. So full moon accidents and everything are based on people who are on the wrong side of their heart. And the emotion got big and they manifested an event.
Right.
So tomorrow it starts at 19, but then turns to 20 early in the afternoon, just like it is now. And so people wake up very determined, and then things get emotional. And when things get emotional in Sag, because it's in Sag, it gets emotion that buys into one story or another. Okay. So people will emotionally buy into it's a corrupt government. People will emotionally buy into it's this guy. They'll emotionally buy into my neighbor's trying to kill me. Their emotions buy into this. Now, they didn't ask their emotions what they really felt before they bought into it. That's the problem. They're not aware and self-realizing. So the full moon will separate you from what you're not allowing yourself to feel and from what you are allowing yourself to feel. And what you're allowing yourself to feel will be the premise of the end of your story. Sagittarius. And because the full moon is at 20 Sag, it conjuncts the galactic center with a net 7 orb. It means spirit is updated of that choice immediately, and you begin to reorganize this as soon as tomorrow what your new life will be. You're on the new story now. Now, you might be asking, can I get off that story if I'm wrong? Yes, but you must be more emotionally powerful than everyone around you and block everyone out and live only in your emotion to get off that wrong timeline. You can escape if you get on the wrong train. You can. But it takes you being more important, focusing only on you, and completely tuning out the rest of the world and the universe and making only you the source. That's the only way you can do it. If you buy in or let any of other people's feelings affect you, you'll be pulled and swayed in their decision. And so you'll become feeling like them. You'll want to feel like them because you'll want to fit in. You want to be accepted by them. So you allow your feelings to be corrupted and tied into that energy. Because you won't have yourself, you'll want somebody,
Right.
right? So step 20 is the tearing away of what you don't feel. Step 21 is the new life. It's all what you feel now. And so your emotions then connect to the one, your heart. So your emotions are the creativity of your heart, then create a belief, net 3, that this is the belief of where things are going. So 21 is this is where it's going. 22 is, okay, let's bring them there and let's have you face all the feelings that you do not agree with. 22 is your feelings against the feelings you don't agree with. And so there's going to be probably something pretty dramatic between Wednesday and Thursday. Because humans' feelings have built up so high, unchecked, unaware of who they are, that conflict between two different feelings is a riot. A riot is 22. The riot is actually the pre-manifestation of Thursday. It's a bump. It's the people who were living so much in the future, they allowed the future to manifest quicker. And that can happen. You can manifest the future quicker. The problem is like, until everyone's rioting, LA, you look bad, right? Once the whole world's on fire on Thursday, you'll be happy with you'll fit in. So it's like, you have to be, so basically when it hits 21, go for the fun. So what I teach my clients at SeriouStory.com is when you hit 21, it's when it starts to get fun. At 21, you only focus on the fun. You don't give a shit about anything else. You just focus on the fun. What that does is feed your heart with nothing but things it likes, puts you in a state of joy. When you enjoy, you're in joy. When you're in joy, you're in your heart. If you're enjoying something, you're in your heart because you're in joy. They spelled it E-N so they would hide what it was. It's actually I-N-J-O-Y. And some dark wizard changed it to E-N. That's a spell. The word was respelled as a spell. So you would not associate enjoy with enjoying things. Enjoy is something different than being in joy.
Right.
So there's all kinds of words like that that have come out in Gemini for me that I've realized, like, oh my God, that's a spell. That's a spell. Like here, H-E-A-R is H-E-R-E, both. You are here. Well, if you are here, you must hear. Hear who? The devil? Yes. So it's all there, right, in the spelling. It's crazy.
That's the week.
So no, it ends up good. 22 is the breakdown. 23 is the vision of the new way. 24 next weekend is the acceptance of that way. 25 is checking with God. Next Monday, you devote to it or whatever. So technically, you don't have to sign the contract till next Monday, a week from now.
When you devote.
When you devote your heart. Because to get it, your whole heart has to be in.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an interesting ride.
Yes.
I'll see you on the other
We'll
side.
see. Yeah, you'll see me we'll be on the train together, buddy. Eating organic food.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. But yeah, we'll get through this. It's gonna be interesting. Now, the last thing I'll say to everyone is this is the beginning, not the end. Don't let yourself believe that this is the end. It's from that point to the next 18 months that everyone learns the right way or the hard way. So the earth carries out this decision you're making now for at least 18 months to 2 years. Carries out. And remember, the only rule in heaven is you have to finish what you start. You have to finish your plate. So if you start your plate here believing this, you will have to learn all the other points you could have taken as a choice before you release them to karma. So you're stuck on whatever ride you begin for the full understanding of that karma and that choice. And I don't know how long that takes. It might take a lifetime or two to realize it.
All right.
So it's not forever. You can't die and you can't get in trouble in heaven.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you, sir. And
Sure,
a long
everybody
one.
got a lot out of that. And
Hope so.
guys, check out Chris on his channels as well. We got Christopher Witecki on Instagram, Serious Joy TV on Instagram, on
And
YouTube
YouTube.
is Serious Joy TV as well, which is the big channel.
And you might wonder what Serious Joy is going to do after the choice. We're throwing a party. That's what we're doing. Yeah, we're throwing a party. And we start the party in around Gary's birthday, actually, ironically.
Where's the details to that? Or like,
Well, right now it's just the announcement that we're starting a television channel, but that's Tele, T-L-E hyphen vision.
television?
Where we're going to tell a vision, and we're
Right.
going to create telos of lots of visions. And that's going to be Serious Joy Television. But we launch that on December 12th.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right.
Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Love you, brother. Thanks for the patience. Love everyone else
You
for the
too.
patience, too. Love you. Be in the light. Be in the heart. Go have something fun to do today.